Hey everybody, this is Chelsea Schaefer.
And Caitlin Dustov.
And this is The Score, the official podcast of the sport of team roping. This is the Team Roping Journal's semi-weekly podcast highlighting the team roping industry's top talents and influencers through stories that inspire and connect ropers. We sit down with ropers from the professional ranks as well as industry icons and producers to delve into topics that make the team roping world tick. This is Season 2. It will feature even deeper interviews, storytelling, and issue-based coverage, and we are so excited you're here. Hey everybody, this is Chelsea. Before we get started, I want to let you know that this episode is presented by the Bob Feist Invitational and BFI Week. The BFI is the masters of the sport of team roping, and this year it celebrates its 42nd anniversary on June 24th. The crown jewel of BFI Week, the Feist, is flanked by rope-ins for the whole family, with hundreds of thousands in payout from June 21st to 27th. Stay tuned for more info about BFI Week later in this episode. Patrick Smith officially retired Amigo, his sorrel 20-year-old big-kneed gelding, earlier this winter. He's now turned out at Smith's Lipan, Texas ranch, enjoying retirement after a career that spanned nearly 2 decades and shaped the career of his 2-time world champion owner. Amigo, who's registered with the AQHA as Sunday Night Bingo, won the AQHA PRCA Heel Horse of the Year title in 2007, right alongside Walt, and that's the iconic head horse of Travis Triance, who, by the way, will be our next special horse feature. He won titles everywhere from the Bob Feist Invitational to the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo, and Amigo even helped Trevor Brazil win $100,000 or more, probably, at the Lazy East Cinch Timed Event Championships. Patrick is one of the good ones in so many ways, but particularly because of the credit he gives to his horses through his success. There's nobody better to tell you about one of the greatest heel horses of the generation than Smith. So, enjoy.
Amigo is a 1999 model. In the fall of 2006, I was looking for a heel horse pretty heavily. I had Jaws, the horse that I won my first world title on, and he had a lot of soundness issues over the past few years, and I knew that I had to find something else that could help me get down the road and compete. Not always easy to do, so I started looking and making calls, and it's funny when you start doing that, you start getting a lot of calls. So I tried dozens and dozens of horses, and I went to David Key's house to try a heel horse. And tried this horse of a friend of his. I liked the horse actually a lot, and there was another guy there roping with me named Conley Donnell. Well, Conley was there, and I was riding out on this horse that I'd been trying, and I looked over at the trailer, and this sorrel horse was tied to the trailer, and I asked him, I said, "What's that horse?" And he said, "Man, he's just a 5-year-old, really cool, but a little bit green." And I'd driven, 3 hours down there, so I said, "Well, is he for sale?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'd sell him." So we went and saddled him up, and I ran one steer on him, and my wife, Christy, was videoing on the fence at that time, and I'd run probably 10 or 12 steers on the other horse I was trying. And at that point, the first horse I was trying, I made an agreement with the owner that I was going to take the horse home for 3 or 4 days and ride him and vet check him and things like that and make sure I wanted to buy him. So I was pretty committed to the one I'd ridden before. I ran one steer on him, and I remember riding by the fence, and Christy says, "I like that one." And he was a lot, he was more on the green side. He hadn't been to any rodeos. He'd just been to a few jackpots and maybe some amateur rodeos, but hadn't been to any pro rodeos or anything. So I run several steers on him that afternoon, and he did really good on some and not so good on some. The green side of him showed up, just not knowing. But I left without him, truth be told, and loaded the other horse, was headed home. Got about 20 miles outside of town, and Christy kept saying, "Man, I really like that other horse. There's just something about him. I liked him." I said, "I did too." So we pull over on the side of the road, on the shoulder, and I call Conley. I said, "Man, I've got a question, and if you don't want to do it, it's no big deal, but is there any way I could take that horse with me too for a few days and let me ride him?" He was like, "Sure, come back and get him." So I turned around, went back and got him, and needless to say, spent the next 3 or 4 days riding and made my decision to go with Amigo, and kind of questioned my decision a little bit when it came time to go to the first rodeo, because he hadn't really been to a rodeo, and he didn't work real great at his first rodeo. Was a little nervous and hadn't been anywhere, but man, he turned that around really quick for me. my moment to know that he was going to be a great one was actually the following year in 2007. That was the first year that I started roping with Trevor Brazil, and I had ridden him a little bit in the fall of 2006. And again, he was pretty green and didn't know everything, but just starting out at rodeos. Odessa didn't go great. I rode him at Waco at the Texas Circuit Finals. That was actually the first place that I rode the horse. And he did pretty good, but by about the time Fort Worth and Denver and all that stuff was going on, I just noticed that he was catching on. I mean, he enjoyed it. He, like I said, tried hard every single run and just kept getting sharper. Seemed like every run I got more confidence in him and he got more confidence in what we were doing, and I started, smiling inside knowing that, man, this is working. I made the right decision here for sure. And, it was actually that year that he won Heel Horse of the Year. Well, the one thing he did really well is he tried hard at everything he did. It just seemed like he was a pleaser. He didn't know what to do, but he wanted to do whatever you wanted him to do. He just didn't know what it was yet. And it seemed like no matter what I asked him, he may not react quick enough for it yet, but he would, 3 or 4 runs into it, it seemed like every run I made on him, he just got better and better. And like I said, he just needed experience. I mean, there was nothing more than needed to be around the lights and, the warm-up track next to the Ferris wheel and the blowing bag of shavings across the parking lot, or shavings bag, and he just had his little quirks just like any 5 or 6 year old would be at the rodeos. But man, he was a fast learner, and that horse has always done nothing but try to help me win. So when I did buy Amigo, yes, my career was still really young. I just won my first world title with Clay Trine, and didn't really know where we were headed. I lived in Midland, Texas. We had a A-frame house that was 525 square foot, and it was 2 stories, and that 525 is including the top story. And for those of you that don't know what an A-frame house is, it's the roof that's pointed like this, and it goes all the way to the ground with a door in the middle. Our washer and dryer was in a storage building behind our house, and there was no back door because it would have been in the way of the kitchen. So you had to walk out the front door and walk all the way around and go into a storage building to do laundry. And Amigo was there in one single pen. I had a practice horse, and I had him there. And man, what an amazing story to have something like him. Like I said, that it didn't matter if I was going to a 3 for 20 jackpot or if I was going to the BFI. He's the one I stuck the halter on and loaded him up and took him to the roping or the rodeo. And he helped me build my career and financially get to the point where I could move into a house that had a laundry room inside, things like that. So he's done a lot for me and Christy and our family. What sets Amigo apart from other horses to me is it's a long list of things. I mean, he's a horse that I can put my kids on. He can run. He scores well. You hear people talk about horses and they say, they're good in every setup. I'm telling you, I cannot speak enough about that. I could be high team back at the BFI and have 12 seconds to win it or something and can kick through, and never in my mind, it would never even cross my mind that he would do anything to take a throw away from me or not help me try to win. He just would do that. And I could literally ride back up into the box at the NFR and need to be 3, and you could be 3. There's just no buffer time in there at all with anything. He just reacts, and he knows how to open his stride up and run down the arena and shorten his stride up when he needs to. I mean, I've just got several runs in my mind that stand out of things like the year that I won first and second on him at the Hork Dog Classic in Vegas. I think it was me and Clay Trine's first steer fell down, and I can't tell you how many horses that I've ridden and that other guys have ridden that there's no way that the horse could have made the moves that Amigo made to keep me in the rope. And he literally slides and stops, and in the same motion just crawls out of it and stays with the steer as if nothing ever happened. Wish we could get that clip to show it. But he's just the way he reacts to the steer, he's always in the right spot. His timing is so good in his stop. He's super strong to the saddle horn. He literally did not have a weak point when it came to making a run Gila. Amigo has to have had over 2 million miles put on him in his career. I mean, he has literally been everywhere. like the song "I've Been Everywhere," man. He's got it. He's been there, done that, and got the T-shirt several times. He was my only horse for a long time. I mean, a lot of guys had. Obviously, I would have a backup horse, but if there was any way possible for me to have Amigo there, that's what I did. Kind of a cool stat is I rode him 86 runs in a row at the National Finals Rodeo. I got off of him in 2015. I got off of him in 2015 and rode Little Kim just because Amigo was having a little bit of issues with that knee and was a little sore. Didn't feel like he was firing like he should. But man, I don't think there's very many guys that can say that they've run that many steers in a row at the NFR on a horse, and that's not the only rodeo I took him to through the year. Like I said, he's been a warrior for me. And from Odessa through December, I mean, his season would end September 30th and start again October 1st. So it's been a long road for him, lots of miles. So taking care of Amigo on the road definitely takes more time than just having a young horse that you throw on the trailer. But it's also taught me a lot about taking care of them while they're younger. Obviously, technology's caught up with a lot of things, and things like soft rides. Man, I wish soft rides would have been around in Jaws's day, or at least wished I would have known about them if they were, because it does save so much trauma to their joints, and just being able to take better care of them and make them more comfortable on the road. And the long hauls, the being tied on the asphalt at the rodeo, all of those things come into play. And that's something that I've noticed a lot in the last couple of years with Amigo. So the hardest thing on him right now is standing still. Bringing him home and turning him out and leaving him alone for 2 weeks doesn't do him any good. It actually makes him go backwards. So he needs exercise, and he needs to be got out of the trailer more often and moved around. And then obviously hard ground's a really tough deal on him. If I leave him tied on hard ground for 2 or 3 hours at a time, and then move him around, you can definitely tell just gets kind of stove up and stiff. But that's where soft ride comes into play. That is our kind of ritual before we leave. We get him up, clean his feet really well, get his soft ride boots on him and get him wrapped up and put him in the trailer, and then stop and make sure we move him around really well on the road, because if we do that, and he's ready to roll when we get there.
Okay, before we go any further into this story, we've got to take a break to thank our sponsors, the BFI, for bringing you this week's episode of The Score. If you love great horses, great roping, and great company, there's absolutely nowhere else to be in June than Reno, Nevada for BFI Week, June 22nd to 27th. You'll love to see your heroes, like today's guest, Patrick Smith, who won the Feist in 2013 with Trevor Brazil. And then you'll get to see the up-and-coming talents who hope to make the BFI their big break. The history in the building is palpable, and there's nothing like the short round of the BFI to inspire your own roping. Speaking of your own roping, there's so much roping for you to do in Reno during the BFI week. From the World Series of Team Roping's High Desert High Roller at Ironwood Equestrian Center from June 21st to 23rd, and the Junior BFI Championships there June 22nd, to the Wrangler Patriot 11.5 on the 25th, the Cactus 9.5, and the 12.5 High Desert Showdown on the 26th, plus the Charlie One Horse All-Girl Championships on the 27th. There's absolutely nothing else like BFI Week in Reno. For more information and a full schedule, visit bfiweek.com and follow the Bob Feist Invitational on Facebook. And remember, if you're stuck at home, you can catch all the action on the Wrangler Network. Don't worry, we'll be there too.
So his injury started back in like 2011. It's been a long road. We were in Nampa, Idaho, and Trevor and I were high team back at the rodeo. We'd made 2 good runs, and I'd get Amigo out of the stall. I think it was a couple days before the short round. He was really sore, and I took him to the vet clinic there. We got him on some anti-inflammatories and just checked him out, and it seemed like everything was good. It actually kind of went away. Rode him in the short round and won the rodeo. Took him to the next rodeo, got him out of the trailer, and saw some signs of it again. So got off of him for a little bit and got him home. Josh Harvey, an Outlaw Equine, he's been my go-to guy since that year, and took him there, and we start x-raying and find out that he has a bone chip, and it had chipped off in his right front knee. So we did what we needed to do and had a surgery done on him, removed the chip, spent the time rehabilitating him and getting him back, and got him back and rode him at 2 rodeos, right back, crippled again. Take him in. It had chipped off on one side. I don't know all the technical terms of how to explain what side it was, but one side of that bone had chipped off. Now the other side of it chipped off. So we had just went through all this time and effort, and there was a decision to be made there. Do we want to do it again? Is it just going to keep chipping off? What do we do? Obviously decided to go ahead and do another surgery on him and remove that bone chip, got him rehabilitated, started riding him again, and then he had a tear in one of the ligaments in his left front ankle. And that was also something that we struggled with over a long period of time, just trying to get that healed and keep him healthy. But, man, this horse is a warrior. I'm talking about, we did everything we could to get him as sound as we could get him, and at one point thought this is as good as he's going to get. And but he was plenty good. I mean, it wasn't like he was crippled by any means. He just couldn't perform at the level he did before. And rode him anyway at a lot of these rodeos just to try to break up some of the scar tissue and keep him moving, and lots of exercise and swimming, and, pampered him like a barrel horse. My goodness, he got everything in the world. But we're out massaging his knee and his ankle every day and soaking him in the soft ride ice boots every day and just doing all these things to get him going. But it just seemed like the more we rode him and the more we exercised him, the stronger that those joints got and the better that he got. Well, part of having a really good horse like Amigo, it's amazing. And like I said, it spoils you a little bit. You forget how, when I started getting some younger horses, you forget how much time you have to spend on the younger horses. Amigo, I could saddle 20 minutes before the team rope and lope a few circles, and never crossed my mind that I wasn't it was on me to rope. It was on me to not make a mistake. And man, when you start getting on the different stuff, you need to be out there before an hour before slack starts, loping around, riding them in the box. They're looking at everything, the Ferris wheel, everything. It's not the same, and that's hindered me a little bit. Losing some of, his physical ability. I maybe tried to ride him a little bit too much in some of the scenarios where he just physically couldn't do it anymore. But it's like an old tennis shoe, man. It feels so good when I'm on him. The memories and the feeling that you have knowing that you can win. It's hard to get by that and get on something different. But time goes on, and definitely hard to replace a horse like that. I don't know that he'll ever be replaced. I have people ask me all the time, which one was better, Jaws or Amigo? And I have to go with Amigo. As great as Jaws was, everybody loved Jaws. He was awesome. I loved him. But just the longevity that Amigo's had. The amount of things that I've been able to do on him. And like I said, there wasn't a scenario that, in my opinion, he wasn't the best at. It didn't matter if it was short score, long score, practicing, whatever I wanted him to do, he was awesome at it. I can't speak highly enough of him. Yeah, even Trevor Brazil can catch 2 feet on him, that's for sure. That's the reason we painted him on the wall. It had nothing to do with any more than that. Trevor could catch on him. Man, he is amazing. So Trevor has ridden him several times at the timed event. He's won the timed event so many times. I don't even know how many times it had to do with Amigo, but I do recall one time that I tried to get him to ride Amigo there. And he's like, no, I'm going to ride this horse here. And he missed riding that other horse. He wouldn't have missed on Amigo. And then he lost his rope on this other horse too, and he wouldn't have done that on Amigo either. So he has ridden him several times there. I know if he was sitting here, he would attribute a lot of good things to Amigo and his success as far as the timed event goes, and especially as far as our team roping career goes. I know that he would have a lot of good things to say about Amigo. He loves him on the grass. He talks about him at Pendleton, and I won Pendleton on him. He's one of the only horses I've ever seen that slides as much as he slides, but you can ride him on the grass and he just knows how to move his feet, man. He really is a special animal. I've actually let my dad heel some on him in the last couple of years. My very first steer that I let my dad run on him, and my dad's a number 4 heeler that doesn't rope very much and didn't even start roping until he was over 50 years old. So I let him run 4 steers on Amigo one day, and he runs the first 2 steers, catches 2 feet both times and dallies and goes, man, no wonder you've done good. I had no idea. I thought you were better than you were. This is easy. So he just was talking about how, what a difference it really does make. He's like, I had no idea. But my kids have ridden him. Eli, my little boy, he's 5 years old. I let him ride him around. I will tell you a little funny story about him. You have to be careful with him because he is super gentle, easy to be around. I mean, kids can go jump on him bareback. It doesn't matter. But, man, when you get in the arena and you boot him up and cinch him up, he's a victory lap and a warm-up crazy. I'm talking about this horse is crazy. I look like I'm two-handed reins. I'm sure that you guys, some of you've probably seen it or witnessed it. Trevor's always made fun of it. But, I mean, he looks like a runaway when you go into a victory lap or any kind of a warm-up where I'm going to blow him out a little bit and get some speed. He goes crazy. So my brother brought his stepsons over here one day. One of them is 7 years old, and I'm letting him ride my horse around. One of the guys that was helping me that day is getting Amigo ready for me. Well, this kid's on him. I'm roping, not really paying attention. He puts his boots on him, cinches him up a little bit, and this little kid is sitting at the back of the arena. I run a steer on this other horse and Dally, and all I see is a blur go by. And I turn and look. This kid has never ridden horses. I mean, he's only been on one horse in his life. And he looks like Whiplash the monkey, both hands on the saddle horn, hunched over the saddle. How he stays on him, I don't know. But Amigo makes a full lap around the arena as fast as he can possibly go. And I'm just in panic mode, thinking this kid's fixing to hit the fence or go flying. He hangs on, and Amigo goes to the very end of the arena, turns, and I'm thinking, please stop, please stop. He's just head down, headed right back at me. But really cool. The kid stays on. I lope in front of Amigo, and I just holler whoa to him, and he does. He just stops and rides right next to me. And this kid's eyes are bugged out of his head. Not crying, nothing, smiling. He's like, man, that was fun. But definitely means business when you get in the arena. So super gentle. I want my kids to ride him, but they need to learn to be careful because he's still got some fire for sure. He doesn't have a buddy. He's kind of a loner. He does have his own pen. All my horses my good horses, I keep them in their own pen. Amigo has his name on his gate. I do plan on moving him down a little bit. I've got some pens a little further down that has a back gate that opens up into a larger trap of a couple acres, and that's kind of my plan for him. He's going to get a lot of green grass and a lot of moving around, but it's funny because I want to build him, I wanted to build him this just fancy, nice stall and have all this stuff, but that's just not who he is. He needs to move around, but his future is definitely going to be on the Smith Ranch. I can tell you that. He's not going anywhere. He's a horse that even the day that he's done, I wouldn't take any amount of money for him. He means too much to me and to Christy and all my kids. They love him and enjoy being around him. And like I said, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. I have had a lot of people try to buy him over the years. Most of them were people that didn't know me really well. I'd just have somebody come and ask about him or ask if there was any amount of money that I would sell him, and wouldn't have sold him for anything because you either want to. Seems like when people get really good horses, they get a lot of offers and things come about as far as different people wanting to come in there and try to get them out from under you, but I remember when somebody was trying to buy Jaws for me when I was younger, and I sat down with Speed Williams, who at the time was just dominating every single rodeo. And we went to lunch at a place, and this was a huge decision for me because it was a lot of money, more money than I'd ever seen in my life, and I was broke. So I asked him, should I sell Jaws? He goes, well, I've been where you are, and I remember those days, but I can tell you this, if you want to make some good money right now, sell it. If you want to rope for a living, don't sell it. And that was pretty simple. I wanted to rope for a living, and man, what a decision that was, because that very next year is the year I started my rodeo career off in 2003. And then had it not been for me keeping Jaws, I would have never known what to look for in Amigo. But when I got Amigo, I did have several people try to buy him. In the beginning, I had people try to buy him. But after a while, I think people realized, man, there's no way that anybody would sell that horse. So, well, obviously, best memories to me in team roping, if your goals are winning World's Championships, which that was my goal, my biggest memory with Amigo would be in 2010. Just a fairy tale year. We had an amazing finals and set records. At that point in time, we were the highest NFR earners and placed in 8 out of 10 go-rounds at the NFR. Just the memories of riding that horse, all 10 rounds, seemed like every time we rode in there we placed. I mean, those are the things you don't forget. And then leaving there, I do remember leaving there with him and just standing outside and taking a picture of him in front of the Thomas and Mack. And just, it's funny how fast time goes by, but you got to appreciate those moments because they're not always going to be there. Another great memory on him was winning the American with Caleb Driggers. I did the same thing. I remember riding across with the saddle and all the stuff that we'd won there, and what an amazing, feat and feeling that was that night. Took a picture of him in front of the AT&T Stadium, and just always have tried to, have a tribute to him that he's been, a lot of guys, I think sometimes until you don't have a good one, you don't realize how much of a part they play in these guys' career. And I can't tell you how many guys I've seen that rope unbelievable or super talented, and they lose their number one horse, and man, then they just become another guy out there entering. And until you've experienced that and been through it, you don't really realize how important these animals can be, but they're something. So yeah, I definitely have had a lot of fond memories with him, but those are two that stand out a lot to me. Well, I definitely think the future of horses in the sport is changing because they're just getting harder and harder to find. I think social media changed the game, and the reason it did is, guys used to be able to go and buy a colt for pretty cheap and ride them for 6 months and make something out of them and sell them for quite a bit of money, and it was a good investment for the buyer and also a good deal for the seller. I mean, you could make some money, and now people understand the value of these animals and how hard they are to find. And the rope horse deal just seems like it just keeps elevating. The money that's out there for every level. I mean, just like I said, the deal with the American and the amount of money that's involved in that, and now the NFR raising the money the way they have, and all these team ropings that are going on, and truck ropings, and people are understanding that they can do what they love to do at the level that they can, that they're able to do it and compete for large amounts of money. And the mentality of the $8,500 horse is dying. I mean, it's just, you can find an $8,500 horse, but you're not going to be able to compete on them anymore, because when you get out there and you're competing against people that are looking for certain type, the way they're bred, the way that they are trained, and the amount of money that it costs to go and get a horse trained and all those things is tying in. And great horses make you or break you. That's all there is to it. And having a good horse, I can't stress enough the importance of it, because I know so many people that will go buy $4,000 or $10,000 hill horses and can't win on any of them, but they won't spend $30,000 or $40,000 on one good one. And really and truly, $30,000 and $40,000 is becoming nothing anymore. I remember the day that I bought Jaws. He was $6,000, and I was stressed out, got a loan for it, working at Chili's to make my payment, and I was like, that is crazy. I can't believe I paid $6,000 for a horse. And now here we are, you're hearing of people paying hundreds of thousands. I mean, it's just no different than the barrel racing industry or the racehorse industry or cutting horse industry. They're all going to continue to elevate and get more and more expensive. But one thing that I'll attribute a lot of my career to also is head horses. I've been behind some of the greatest head horses that there have been. A saying that some of us like to say is, great healers don't just find good headers, they find great head horses. And that has a lot to do with it. I got to heel for T. Woolman when he was on Megazord. I got to heel for Clay Trine when he was on Thumper. Travis Trine was my second partner when he had Walt. And, man, you want to talk about make a healer's life easier. Get behind those type horses. Got to rope with Trevor over the years. Fortunate to have Sikkim and Boogie, two of the other greats in my opinion. And, man, there's just nothing like it when you back in there and you know that you've got that kind of horse in front of you. But one of the cool things is through most of those horses, I was on Amigo. And it was just so nice to always have that, something that great underneath me every time we go, and then get to heel behind those. Again, I wouldn't be here. Those horses, you take those head horses away or take that heel horse away, they mean that much. And I think it's important for people to understand, man, quit struggling on the mediocre stuff, trying to be great. Find the right kind of horses, because that makes a big difference.
Thanks again to the Bob Feist Invitational for sponsoring this episode of The Score with Patrick Smith and Amigo. We can't wait to see you all in Reno. We'll be covering the event on teamropingjournal.com and across our social channels, and you can watch it all live on the Wrangler Network. Don't forget to look for our podcast with the big winners the week following the event. Thank you again to the BFI, and thank you all for listening.